Sirens, Slammers, and Service, a podcast for female first responders by female first responders. My name is Nikki Cluche, and I will be your host. As a former correctional officer in Alberta for almost 2 decades and the founder of Blue Line Fitness Testing, which provides law enforcement fitness testing and first responder wellness workshops, I started this podcast as a way for female first responders to share the trials, tribulations, and triumphs of their daily work. I want to showcase the unique perspectives, skill sets, and personalities that women bring to a first responder career and share their stories. So get ready to laugh your ass off, learn a whole bunch, and be inspired by some pretty badass women. Let's go.
Welcome back, guys. I am joined today, season 4, episode 3, by an absolute rock star. I love the energy that she throws down. I'm joined today by Meena Rangi from the Edmonton Police Service. Meena has been with Edmonton Police for 14 years and is currently in the recruit selection section. She previously was a constable in the Southeast Division and the Northwest Division. She worked in the Emergency Communications Operations Branch and was also a member of the Domestic Abuse High Risk Team. And she is here today to share her journey with us. I'm very, very excited about this episode because we have been trying to get somebody from EPS on since we started this podcast. And I finally tracked somebody down, held them down, and was like, please be on my podcast. Please be on my podcast. And they said yes. Meena said yes. So welcome, Meena. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
Oh, Nikki, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks. How are you?
Yes, I'm so, like I said, I'm so pumped to have you. I can't wait to hear just your story and just like I get even just kind of going through like your bio. I was like, holy man, like, okay, like there's so many different things, like a front line in Southeast and then Northwest, and like the total differences between the populations in our city that are going to be in those areas of the city. And then the Emergency Communications Operations Branch, like that's a whole other thing that I'm super interested in. And then didn't even know that there was this domestic abuse high risk team. So I can't wait to hear about that. Like it's so cool, the things that you've been doing. And we were talking before we started, and in December you are headed to a new section. What's the name of that section again?
Track. So it'll be the transit and community safety teams. So we will be mostly on the other T lines and patrolling that and the transit areas. I'm super pumped about that.
It's such an awesome, like, I'm so glad that the city is finding the money to pour into this, because it's definitely one of the places, you hear it in the community, you hear it from the public, how they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe taking the train. They don't feel safe on the buses, and that something needs to be done. So it's so fantastic to see that Edmonton Police has taken this initiative and really running with it and combining with, community peace officers, which is a lot of our listeners as well, that are looking to get into transit or transitioning from, community standards branches within the city of Edmonton and things like that. So such a great partnership, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with that. Start me off. Tell me, like, 14 years, so you've been in for a while. Lots of experience. So tell me, like, how did you come into this career? What kind of led you into policing?
Sure. Okay. So I actually moved here being Edmonton from Surrey. I graduated from Simon Fraser University and I got my degree in criminology. I was actually actively searching to work for Vancouver, obviously, because it's close to home, right? But the application process was taking forever. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give it a whirl. Let's try Edmonton, because my dad had a couple of brothers here in the city. We had some family here, and well, why not? So I applied for Edmonton, and the application process was smooth. It was quick, and I passed every stage successfully. Obviously, I'm here now. And I landed in Edmonton for recruit training class, and I started in March 2009, recruit class 116. And to be honest with you, policing was not my first career choice. I was actually planning on going to law school. That was the goal. That was the end game. But my grandpa, so my dad's dad, he was a police officer in Africa. And my dad, he was a member of the Royal Air Force in the UK. He also always wanted to be a police officer. He just never followed through with it. But my dad's older brother, he was also a police officer in Africa. So we did have like a bit of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not in North America. But when the time came for me to choose to like complete the LSAT and kind of push forward with law school, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try and see what it's all about, because hey, worst case scenario, I can come back for school. It's school, right? And I had all the support in the world from my dad. My mom was like, she was a mom, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously concerned and very uneasy with the idea of it, but I did it anyways. And I made it, and clearly I'm thriving and loving it.
You have a very similar story to me. Like I basically say that I got my degree for criminology from the U of A.
Yeah.
Same thing. My parents were like, and you're going to be a lawyer. And I was like, well, maybe like kind of, I'd taken a couple law classes, obviously through the criminology degree. And I was like, it is kind of like interesting. And I do like to argue.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe, but I hit the exact same thing as you. I finished school and I was like, another 4 years of school and like study for this LSAT and like, or I'm kind of broke and I would like a job that's going to give me some money. So maybe I'm going to go do that first and then I'll come back. Right. And exactly the same thing. My dad was like, yeah, do whatever you want. My mom was like, I don't think that is a good idea. I think that you need to just go back to school. And I was like, well, same thing. Right. I was like, well, I'm just going to do it anyways. Bye, mom. So exactly the same story, basically. But yeah, so you go through recruit training. So recruit training, is it the same as it was? Like, is it the same now as it was when you went through in like regards to timing and stuff? I'm sure things like what you learned back then is different, but
you know what? I would say the curriculum is pretty bang on from then and now. It's a lot, Nikki. Like it's a lot of training, and it's pretty much like 3 to 4 years worth of training condensed into like 6 months. It's so much. It is a lot to take on, and like you really need to be in the right headspace, like to be able to like absorb everything and actually implement it, right? Like it's not just school. So it's not like where you and I were studying for an LSAT. Like it's not like it's a lot. And I'll tell you, I had zero security experience. I had zero experience with anything of the sort. I've never been hands-on with anyone. I didn't know. There were a lot of challenges. Like for me personally, like just through class. And I'm not just talking about fitness, like I'm talking about everything, like control tactics, you name it. Like a foreign concept for me. And like I know even now, like there are people who like, like they hunt recreationally, whatever. So they're not like they've had exposure to firearms and whatnot. You're going in there and you don't have that. Like, and again, that's yet another hurdle. But again, you have such a short period of time to nail it, be successful, and also be competent out on the street. It's a lot. It's a lot, but God, it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, the majority of people that I've talked to that have either done like EPS, CPS, or RCMP have said it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like just get ready because it's coming, and it's and like you better get as much of it in as you can because like this is your window. This
doesn't stop. Like it just keeps coming at you, and again, you need to be ready for that, and you need to be fully committed to it. So, like when I was hired with EPS, we didn't have all of these like beautiful workshops that like the service has now, like for applicants. Like we have the Run with the Recruiter program, right? Which is unbelievable. It is phenomenal, and it is so inspirational and motivating to see all of these applicants come out and like work out with members and really just do their best, right? But even just in terms of like networking and whatnot, is so great for them. I'm telling you, Nikki, like if I had that back when I applied, just the wealth of knowledge that you would get from other people, and even just like talking to members, I can't even tell you. We have like the behavioral descriptive interview workshops, right? Like we're really trying to help people be successful. So I mean, like when I applied, like those weren't implemented, those weren't a thing yet. So like you really just have to like learn on your own and try and figure it out to the best of your ability, right? So, I mean, for anyone who is applying now, they're so lucky that we have these things in place. And I highly, highly recommend any listeners who are going to apply for EPS, please take advantage of absolutely everything that we have to offer when it comes to applying application processes, because they're all free. The workshops are free, workouts are free, everything. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And that was one of the like reasonings behind me starting Blue Line was exactly that. Is there really, and there like we still are in Alberta. We're the only place that will help you get to where you need to be to get into the career, right? Everyone else is like, oh, hey, you applied, run this fitness test. We're not going to show you what it looks like. I mean, you can find, again, when I started, there was YouTube, but it wasn't like YouTube where you could go and look and see all these videos where you're like, oh, this is what I should be doing, or like techniques or anything like. It was just like show up on the day and really hope that you were fit enough. And if you weren't, well, sorry, see you later career, like move on to something different. Like, and how do they decide where you go? Like when you come out of recruit training, is that based on like just need across the city? Like, so our Southeast was short officers. So Kate, we're going to send 3 from this recruit class there, and we're going to send a couple here. And
when you're in class, we do have the option, like we get to choose. You get a top 3 of divisions where you'd like to work. And more than likely, you'll probably get one of your first 2. Might be the odd time where you'll end up somewhere that that wasn't on your list, which is what happened to me. Like, because I didn't have that on my list, so it would. And yeah, I guess organizational need does factor in, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So for the most part, it's pretty accommodating, right? Because people also want to work close to home, and like there's a lot of things to consider. For the most part, it's pretty accommodating.
And so you got sent to Southeast Division. And so how's that first day? It's your first day in the field. You're out there for real. They've kicked you out of the nest and they've said, "Fly, my little sweet birdie." How was that day for you?
I'll be honest with you, I was so excited. I was so excited. I could not. I couldn't contain my. I don't think my PTO knew that I was that high energy. I don't think he knew what was coming. He had no idea. Like, I was ready to drive. I was ready to do it all, everything. I was not allowed to drive day one. You didn't, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nikki, I was pumped. Like, because I knew how much work went into, first of all, just getting into class, right? And then passing, like going through class and being successful, and then actually being assigned a division and a squad. Like, I knew how much work, how much work I put into that. So here I am, like, I'm going to implement it, and I'm going to be as productive and as great as I can be for the city, for myself, and for my school. So yeah, I was jacked. I was ready to go. I was ready to go. It was
you're like, give it to me. Give it to me all.
Try to relive my first day all the time. That's the kind of energy that I bring, because this is such an exciting career. It really is. You meet so many great people. So it's about having fun, but also doing some really good work. So
I love that you say that, like relive my first day every day, because I think that is something, like, especially, and we talked about this again before we started recording, when you get in, like 10, 15, 20 years, right? The career does, like, I mean, you're going to see some stuff, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, like, you're going to see some stuff. You're going to get a little jaded. You're going to get a little angry. You're going to get a little judgmental. You're going to get a little resentful. Like, that just is the nature of the beast, because of what you see and what you deal with and the frustrations that come with the job. And you have to mitigate that somehow, because otherwise you just burn out. You just become that crusty, burnt out, like nasty, horrible. Exactly right. Yeah.
Around you. Yep.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, wanted to pop on here before we got into this next episode and let you know about a couple new rad ideas that we have for the podcast. So the first one is we have a survey up, and I would love to know what you guys think about the show. I'd love your feedback. I'd love your ideas for the next season, and I'd just love to know what you like and what you dislike about the podcast. And I'm going to sweeten the deal with a $50 gift card randomly drawn from everybody that completes the survey. The survey is going to be in the show notes of all of our shows, so no matter what time you start listening to the podcast at, you'll get a chance to win that gift certificate. The second thing that we're bringing in now is the ability for you guys to leave us a voicemail. You guys can actually call into the show, leave us a voicemail, let us know what you think about the show. If you have a funny story you'd like to share from your time as a first responder, I would love those and showcase those on the show as well. So make sure you guys check out that voicemail feature. It's going to be in the show notes, and check out the survey. Make sure that you get that chance to win that gift certificate.
And so I love, and like we've talked, lots of listeners have said, like, have a mental health support, have an outside network, have those things that are going to keep you, not just you as this officer, as this job, but it's going to keep you as you. But nobody has said that, relive my first day as if every day, right? And I think that if we were to bring that energy, that excitement, that like just desire to do well into our jobs every day, if we strove for that, that alone would change your day, right? It would change your attitude coming into work. It would change, if you got stuck with a shitty partner, Who cares? Who cares?
Oh,
It's your first day. You don't know that they're shitty. You're just going to work with them and be like, okay, I'm going to take from you what goodness I can take from you. And the rest of it, I'm just going to leave.
that's
And we're
right.
going to carry on with our day. Yeah.
That's right. Like, you
Yeah.
know what? If you're working with someone who doesn't like to talk a lot or is just like not open, whatever. Who
Yeah.
cares? Just like you do you. Have fun, do the best that you can, and just go home. It's all good. And you know what? It's also really important. I've learned this over the years. I wasn't very good at it. I didn't really understand it, but you gotta take care of each other, right? Like you need to take care of each other. So I'm just a naturally empathetic person, and I can read people, and I think I have an okay personality. Like people talk to me a lot, so it's cool, right? But I have found like you really need to check in with your people, like whether they're on your squad or not. But like it's kind of easy to tell when someone's down and out and not just not feeling it, right? Like, hey, you all right? Like you don't look good today. Like are you okay? Even just people out for coffee. My thing is, what I love to do, my whole squad morale, team morale thing is I bring in treats.
Yes.
I love treats. Who doesn't like food, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody loves food and treats, right? But yeah, it's really important to look out for one another because it's hard to do kind of like that self-assessment and realize that, you know what, maybe I need to take a break and step aside for a bit. So yeah. Side.
No, I do. I like that. I really like that. How long were you in Southeast Division before you moved over to Northwest?
Okay. So I was in Southeast for 5.5 years, and then I went to Northwest for about 4 years, and then I went to ECOM, our Emergency Communication Operations branch, for a short while because I got pregnant. I took a year of mat leave. And when I came back to work after my first mat leave, I went back to ECOM. I didn't stay there very long either because then I was pregnant again. And then after my second maternity leave, so I would say honestly in ECOM, it wasn't not even a year. So I went to DART, the Domestic Abuse High Risk Team, in December of 2020. That's it. That math adds up. I think it adds up. Yeah. Spent a lot of time on the street. I'm not gonna lie, it was like the funnest time of my career, like the most fun. So it's gonna be hard to top that. That's what you sign up for, right? When you want to be a police officer, whatever city, this is what you sign up for, to be out there, right?
Yeah.
And I loved it. Of course, there were some crappy times. Absolutely, there were, but I had a great time, really great time.
That's awesome. And it's good to hear that too, because sometimes you do hear from frontline officers, like that was the worst time. What they wanted to do, they wanted to be, they wanted to move up. That was their goal. Right. Yeah. And so being on the street was like just that stepping stone that they had to do.
I feel an obligatory thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like you're saying the majority of people get into it for that. They get into it for patrol, for responding to emergencies, for, like dealing with the things that need to be dealt with. And so it's awesome to hear that. And like, again, that amount of time, basically 10 years out on the street. And so from that, do you have any crazy stories, anything that you just went like, oh my God, where you leave? And it's hard to say that to a first responder because literally we go like every day is like that. Like every day I go home and I go, you would not believe what happened at work today. And people look at me and they go, no, I don't believe you. And you're like, okay, but that wasn't even like a crazy day. That was just like a oh wow day. Like, so anything like that, anything where you just like look back and you think, oh my God, that day was either hilarious or insane or crazy or anything like that?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Nikki, like it sounds so bad, but I feel like all of my stories have like combined into this big mush of like stuff in my head. And I cannot pull out specific stories or days because I'm very positive and I usually have really great days, even though, and I don't mean to sound dark, like even though shitty things happen and can, like whatever, like move on, but I can really great. I'm not really good with stories on the spot.
That's okay.
Now it'll be in the back of my head because I don't want to just say something lame. So
yeah, we totally can come back to that. And it is true though, because like even like when I was brainstorming for this podcast like a year and some ago, I was like, okay, well we could do an episode on this, we could do an episode, and I'm like, oh, I could do an episode like on all like the crazy things that I saw at the jail. And so then I like sat down and I was like, trying to like write them out, and I was like, there's like 17 years of stories. Like, what was really crazy, like
I know,
compared to like what was like, well, maybe.
Right, or what is like compared to like a regular day? Like, what's a regular day for us? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I know, and like then you think, did we even go to work? Like, did I even show up? Like, I don't remember anything. It's terrible.
Okay, so talk me through. I really want to know about this domestic abuse high risk team because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know it existed. What exactly does that entail? And how does that team really work?
So I'll call it DART from now on, if that's
Yeah.
okay. DART has actually been around like in the service well before my tenure, even in my career. So like it's been around probably since like officially since the late 90s, but
Okay.
to the point where it's like an actual team now of members, I would say as of 3 years ago. So DART falls under the DOCS umbrella. So DOCS would be our domestic offenders crime section. The members who work in DOCS are detectives. So they're the men and women they're working on call, like they're taking the really significant, heinous intimate partner violence files. And those are pretty egregious. Like they're at the point where like patrol can't investigate them because there needs to be a lot more work done to them. And like just like the significance of the injuries or the circumstances, it's not for patrol to take over. It's for the detectives to do. I also did some time in docs too. I should probably say that. So I do know a little bit of like the files that they do take on and the call out schedule. Under docs is the DART team. DART is constables. So right now, I think they're running at 8. So 8 constables. But with the constables, we are also partnered with the city of Edmonton. So we have registered social workers who are partnered like with us in DART to help to like work on files together. So the type of files that DART takes or like are assigned are the files that come from patrol and seem as though they will need like extra attention and like intervention, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's for the victim or even for the offender, right? And this is once the investigation is already over. So we're not reinvestigating anything. Sometimes though, Nikki, like sometimes the offender will end up with more criminal charges because lots of times they're in the remand, right? And sometimes they'll be breaching their conditions, whatever the case may be. So there also is the potential for extra criminal charges. But really what the main objective is to protect the victims and try to get them out of their abusive relationships by connecting them to, like, you have a social worker side by side, right? Like you literally have somebody here who can help you if you want the help, right? So it is very powerful and it is an amazing place to work, but you can't force people to take your help, right? Like if they don't want it, or like, and we all know the cycle of violence and totally get that. I 100% get it. I get the trauma. I understand that. You can get some really great work done and you can really touch a lot of people's lives like in the best way possible. So that's what DART does. There's also like a subunit, I guess, of DART, which is where I was working. We call it the DART engagement team. We work in full uniform and we go out and do compliance checks on offenders, make sure like they're complying by all of their release conditions. If they're out, assist with arresting people on warrants if they have any outstanding warrants. We'll help docs, right? Because sometimes like the people that they're trying to arrest, like they're gone. Like we don't know where they are, but they need to be in jail now, right? So we'll help with docs arrests as well. So that's more I would say more hands-on, a little bit more it is more dynamic than the other DART work, but again, it's great work and it is necessary. So
that's amazing. Well, and there's a couple of things you were talking about as you were kind of moving through that I was like, oh, okay. The first one is patrol gets a call, hey, I need help, police, my boyfriend's beating me up. We'll go with just a total typical call. Patrol responds and says, okay, yeah, we're here, we've kind of dealt with the immediate situation, and then they would call DARTs in to say, hey, can you come and respond to this, maybe tomorrow or the next day to follow up? Or did they call you that night and say like, hey, we just dealt with this, come, but they need this, victim needs a social worker, needs help?
From patrol, what would happen is the member can send an email. We like in DART, that's not on call. So it's like patrol has dealt with the call, dealt with the file, is investigated, it's done. And if they believe that these people could really use some help, they can send an email to our general inbox. However, we have two file assessors who are civilians. And their job is to read every single intimate partner violence call in the entire city. So they read anything and everything that comes through, anything that is dispatched, they read and they assess whether, okay, DART intervention would be probably pretty good at this one. Okay, so this one, maybe not. So they do their own risk assessment. And from that point, those ladies will they'll send it to the sergeant and the sergeant will assign it off that way. But if a patrol member is at a call again, it's at a pretty heinous level of like violence, that's when the docs detectives would be called out and
Gotcha.
consulted with, and like then he or she would determine, okay, yeah, this is definitely something that we should be investigating and taking over, and then they'd be headed out. Does that help? Does that make
Yeah,
sense? Okay.
totally. Yeah. So then the other question I had was, when you're there with a social worker, do you find that the victims utilize the services more with an officer there? Because I feel like all of a sudden that presence of safety, that presence of like officer security with a social worker would then kind of spur them, like those, and then you're saying where, we talk about the cycle of violence and how they just sometimes choose not to get help because they believe they deserve this, or and so, but do you find like when there's an officer there that they have a greater uptake of utilizing the help and the services because they feel safer?
No, I like with my files, I've had more success with the social worker engaging on her own without me there, because I've been stonewalled. Like I haven't really been able to get through to the victims, and it's just, or they just won't engage with the social worker. And then when we leave the house, the social worker will like give me a follow-up like 2 hours later, like, yeah, I had this really great chat with so and so, and like he or she wants this, this, and this, and this set up. Okay. Sometimes I feel like it's a bit of a barrier, especially when we do like the home visits, like when we go and see the house. But actually, I found more success because I developed my own system. I found more success if the complainant or the victim comes to like a police station and I'm sitting there with my social worker partner and we're just in a like nice cozy room. That's actually a lot better. And I have I kind of determined, and I have asked a few of my complainants, change of heart, right? Like you'll see them at the house and they just want to engage, don't want to talk. And then we'll go to a police station and sit in a room and it's, like open book and it's phenomenal. There's a lot of fear that they're being recorded, obviously, secretly, right? And there are eyes everywhere, like terrified. Of course, granted, I get that. So we just try to make it work for them. And again, whoever is willing to take the help, like we're all in, right? And there are people who just they won't even like respond to the phone calls or anything, and you can't do anything about that, right?
So the question I had is, so you're saying intimate partner domestic violence. So this group would not then be dealing with, say, elder abuse or anything like that. Is there a unit within EPS that would deal with that? Because that's also obviously, an issue that happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, there is. And that team it's called Senior Protection, the Senior Protection Unit. So that unit is comprised of 2 detectives, 1 constable, and social workers, right?
Yeah.
But they also have partnerships with a few other agencies in the city. It's a very small unit, of course.
Yeah.
And they don't work on call, but those are definitely files that happen, unfortunately, very, very frequently. But this would be like the senior protection files pertain to things like children exploiting their parents for money. If it was like a couple involving seniors, like partners, and there was violence there, it would still fall under like domestic.
Okay, gotcha.
Senior protection is like a lot of like the money fraud and like just taking adequate care of their senior parents, like some pretty terrible stuff. So
it is becoming more prevalent, but I think it's just also becoming more like the public knows more about it. It's become like it's not so hidden anymore. Like people are starting to speak up and say like, did you know that this is also happening? And people go, what? Like, because they don't think that happens. So awesome. Like I'm like, I could go so many different directions. I love it. But I really want to delve into what you're doing now, which is with the recruit selection section. So how does that work for you? What is your role in there? And if we can, what tips or kind of advice would you give to those listeners? Because a lot of our listeners are looking to get into Edmonton Police. Would you give to kind of move through the selection process?
Okay, so I'll start with my role right now. I was brought into a recruit selection section to take charge of the diversity portfolio, just because like everybody who was working here and who is working here, they've been working. It's not that this had been ignored. It's they just the unit needed somebody to actually take charge of it and like start it from somewhere, so we had somewhere to go with it, right? I have been reaching out to numerous police agencies Canada wide just to see what everyone is doing out there with regards to like diversity in recruiting and police recruiting, right? And I have had a lot of success talking with lots of the police agencies out east, actually. Peel Regional, Waterloo, Toronto, like some pretty great ideas and just some amazing contacts, to be honest with you. That was kind of why I was brought in to like to work on that. But as a recruiter in the unit, we go to things like career fairs, right? Career events, career fairs, like whether it's for universities or external agencies who help hold job fairs. We do need to be out there 100%. Nothing beats like a face-to-face. It really does, right? Like we all know this, right? It's powerful and we need that. We're human beings. We like that human contact. So we go to the career fairs. There are out of town recruiting trips. A couple of members just came back from a trip to Saskatchewan, and they had 3 cities lined up, and they had really great numbers, like great number of people showing up, and like they set up the APCAT, right? Like our written test, they held written sessions. I mean, how awesome is that? Like the EPS is going to you to actively recruit you to join us. So it's just coming up with ideas, and they don't have to be big. They don't have to be grand or nothing. We just need people, and we need good people everywhere and everywhere. Just bring who you are and join our team. Okay, so we also have our Run with a Recruiter. I think I mentioned that earlier before. So our Run with a Recruiter it's not a run, it's a workout, right? It's a workout every Monday evening and every Thursday morning with members from the recruiting section and from the selection side. And we also have members coming in from the service who come out for a workout, and it is amazing. It is amazing. And just the number of people that show up, like from 70 to 100 people show up for a workout, like on their own time, right? And they're coming out, and you see the same faces over and over again. Like it is a very, very inspirational thing to see. But like I love being a part of those. I love it. Every time I do it, I feel so motivated and inspired all over again. Again, like it's just like holy crap. Like, and how much did we like working here go through just to get to where we are? Like you forget how tedious and like how draining just the process is alone, right? And then like you're here and you're like, oh my god, like geez, this is pretty cool, like what we're doing. So
no, it you know what is awesome though. So I have a really good friend, Angie Tetley, who is a recruiter with Calgary Police, and
a few times. Yes.
So we've played rugby together for years, and so she was on the podcast, and she was saying, you know, like, and that was a year and some ago, and they had just started their Run with a Recruiter, and so she was like, so we shamelessly stole it from Edmonton Police. So thanks, Edmonton Police, right?
That's right. They admitted though. Calgary admits it that they stole it.
Okay. But but she's saying too, like the success that they're seeing with it, the numbers that they're getting out, the applicants that they're getting out, the ability for the recruiters to again be speaking to the people and to hear, like you're saying, you know, like the struggle of like waiting, and then the, you know, being so, because I remember when I was in corrections, I applied to the RCMP, and you're so scared to open your email. You're so scared. And at the time it was all coming by snail mail. You didn't want to get the mail because you're like, is today going to be the day where they're like, thanks, but no thanks, you know, like, and you didn't want to answer your phone because you're like, please don't like say no, please let me come work for you. Right. So it's good to hear that kind of back and forth is happening at those sessions. And I agree with you. I think when you're saying, you know, like we need to have those face-to-face with people, it's crazy to think that people don't know that this is a job, right? That they could apply to, right? Because you think like, how do you not know that you could apply to this? But the amount of people, and again, women, like, and this is where I find it, women who see it and go, oh yeah, well that would be cool, but like, I could never do that. I could never do that. And then being like, and I'm very much the same as you. Why the fuck not? Why couldn't you do that? Why do you think you could not do that? oh, well, I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not, I'm kind of,
whatever, like,
right. And I'm like, okay, but do you have this, and this? Like, can you talk to people? Do you are you helpful? Can you are you
right,
do you have integrity? Then I'm pretty sure you could do this job. Like, it's literally just talking to people. 90% of our job is talking to people and
right,
just trying to problem solve. And like, if you're really good at that, I think you'd be really good at this job, right? But
right.
it's that having to have that face to face and explain that to people, because you can do all you want for recruiting and having ads and things like this, and people will see it and go, oh, that's awesome. Like, yeah, it's not me though, I could never do it, until they actually have that conversation. So
Oh,
I
totally.
I love to hear that you guys, and I also think, like, in this day and age, and again, because I see it from the fitness side of things, right?
Right.
Where all law enforcement agencies are hiring. Everywhere is hiring, because
Totally. Yeah.
everywhere is short, right?
Mhm.
Which I think, on the other side, I mean, we could go on in a whole nother episode on the tangent of why we're short officers and the frustration that comes from that, right? But is that agencies have to become out of the box thinkers. They have to become flexible. They have to start looking in areas where they may not have looked before for applicants. And I'm even hearing this, like, again, I have a friend from Edmonton Fire who was on our podcast, Daisy, and she was saying, like, at this point, we're starting to try and target in the high schools to get these kids before they've made a decision as to where they want to go. Because if you try and hit them at university, they already know what they want to do, right? They've already picked their path. Yeah, they've picked their path and they've already decided. So getting them to change their mind. I mean, yeah, you may get somebody like you or I, where we're like, oh, we're in criminology and like, well, we're going to do law school, but maybe we'll try this, right? But usually if you're in university, you kind of know your path, right? So trying to get these kids younger, so like to even again say, this is an opportunity. And again, as a female, as a young female, this is an opportunity for you. You can do this. Come and try this. And Edmonton Fire has their Camp Inspire. Come and try it. Come and see what it's like, and maybe it fits and maybe it doesn't, but at least now right? So I think it's awesome to hear, like you said, that you're taking Edmonton Police to people, and we're taking away those barriers of, you got to travel to Edmonton to do the the written, and then you got to travel to Edmonton to do the A prep, and then you got to travel to Edmonton to do the BDI, and then you got to, right, like, that's hard. And in this day and age, when money is tight for everybody, that's really hard. And they're still trying to work because they need a job to pay for their life, but they also want this job, right? So
time too, like, come on, right? It's a massive time commitment. Absolutely.
Walk me through the recruiting process, if you can, for APS. Like, where do they start? How do you kind of progress through the process?
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So joineps.ca has everything beautifully laid out, right? Their whole application process. So what we are recommending any future applicants to do is to write their APCAT first. So the APCAT is the Alberta Police Cognitive Abilities Test. I think I got that right. Why we are encouraging applicants to write that first before submitting their entire application is because if the test is not successful, like if the applicant is not successful with their test, there's a 30-day deferral. Okay, so after 30 days, say they come back, they write again, and again, unsuccessful. Okay, well, then we're looking at additional time, like we're looking at 2 months, right? So it just eats into your time. The beautiful part about this test is once you pass it, once you're successful, you need a 70% to pass. Once you're successful, that score is valid for 5 years. So great, get your test out of the way. So once you pass your test, this is when we would want you to submit your entire application package. Once you've submitted your application package, and it kind of goes through the pre-screening, like just to make sure all the documents are there and make sure all your ducks are in a row, then you would be scheduled for your APREP. I don't know what the acronym is. You know what it is, Nikki. You know what the APREP is.
Alberta Physical Readiness Evaluation for Police Officers. And then in Ontario, it's the PrEP. So it's just like the Physical Readiness Evaluation for Police Officers. Yeah.
Okay. So for the APREP, now the APREP consists of, again, it is online. It's an obstacle course in conjunction with a push-pull machine, and we call it a handcuffing machine. I don't know what the official term is, but the push-pull machine and the handcuffing machine with the obstacle course. And at the end of your rounds, The applicant just has to drag, I think it's a 65 kilo dummy around a couple of pylons.
Mhm.
Then after that, get a 10-minute break, and there's a shuttle run where we have to hit a 7 on the beep test.
Hate the beep test.
Everybody hates the beep test, which is why this RWR is so phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
We'll do the beep test lots of times, right?
Yeah.
And it is intimidating, especially for people who just don't do it for fun. Who does the beep test for fun? I don't really know.
Yeah.
But there, and it's actually pretty cool to see people improve, right? Like it's a pretty awesome thing to see that. Like I love it. But yeah, this is another significant thing about the RWR is like you'll be exposed to workouts that you'll probably do in class. They'll be more intense in class, but practice the beep test, right? Because that's again, we are setting everybody up for success, not for failure, right? Okay, so anyways, so let's say we pass our APREP. That's awesome. Then we'd be booking you in for a BDI, being the behavioral descriptive interview. And that is a panel interview with our retired members. We also do offer BDI workshops. Like, again, highly recommend attending those, just so you know what we are looking for in your answers and what kind of questions are coming your way, right? Because I mean, we'll have applicants from every pool of life, and like from the 20-year-olds to like 52. Everybody needs a refresher, and everybody needs to know what's going on. Take advantage of what's being thrown your way, listeners. If you're applying, take advantage of it. So you do the BDI, pass. That's great. Then we would go through a PDI, being the personal disclosure interview, excuse me, which is a one-on-one interview with file manager. That's assigned. And that is pretty much just a deep dive into like the application form that you put out, and you just air out everything, like full disclosure. That's what it's called, personal interview, right? So once that's complete, it'll be the polygraph, and then the psych, medical, and background. Then that's it.
Then that's it. And so what are you seeing for length of time? And I know it's hard to kind of quantify that because with everybody it's different and their availability to come in and do things, but what on average would be the time to kind of move through that process?
So if it's smooth sailing and everything was great and there was no issues getting a hold of like reference checks and whatnot, probably about 2.5, 3 months. Like it's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Actually, wait. No, I would say probably about, no, scratch that. Probably about 6-7 weeks. 6-7 weeks. Yeah.
Wow.
It can be more. It just depends.
That's way faster. That honestly, I was expecting you to say like 6 months at minimum. No,
because we are like, again, setting everybody up for success, and we we have classes 3 times a year, right? So like our next class is starting up in December.
So is your December class full right now, or you're still filling it? Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you bet. Still filling it. And we want to give applicants, like when they are successful through the application process, we want to give them and their employer like at least 2 weeks notice, right?
Yeah.
Before they start class. Like we need to do that. So that's where the timeline can be a little bit. I'm just looking at my calendar right now just to see if I got my math right. I'm pretty sure I'm okay there. But again, like the hang up can just be trying to get a hold of people on the background, right? Because it's right? Schedules, time, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. So it does take time, but we are still actively filling for December, and we will almost always have classes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's no, that's fantastic. Like I said, I was expecting you to say like 6 months because the majority of the police agencies you're looking at about a 6 month to go through it all. And again, I say that because I think there's delays on the applicant's part too, right? So like if you're like saying if you fail the AppCat, well, there's an extra 30 days. If you fail the APREP, well, that's until you can get fit enough to run the APREP and pass it, right? Well, that's you're delaying yourself, right? So, but yeah, that's awesome to hear. So yeah, you can. So all my listeners out there, pay attention. You could be in the December class if you get your poop in your group. So get couple up in. Okay. So what what are you seeing, or is there a certain sticking point for the majority of people that are moving through the process? Like, is there, are people struggling in a certain spot?
Yes, and it's the written test.
Okay.
That's where we lose a lot of people, because it's just not a successful attempt the first or second time around. That honestly is the major hurdle. Everything else after that really I haven't experienced too many applicants like not being successful through their BDI or anything like that. But where we're losing people is like right at the beginning, which is again why we're saying write your test first before you get your application, because once you've submitted your application, I think it's only valid for a year or 18 months once it's in. So pass that written first, because it's some pretty significant time delays, especially after the second attempt. So
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's like, again, that's a great piece of advice, kind of for the listeners, right? Like, I mean, and be prepared. I think that's for me, and for me, again, in the business that I run, the lack of preparation to me is very, very frustrating. Because I'm the type of person that if I was applying for this, when I was applying for, moving through my things, I was like, what do I need to know before I got to go? I got to do this, and this. Okay, well, I'm going to start training like way before I start, right? And what I'm seeing now, and again, I don't know if that's just a change in generations, and this makes me sound like I'm 90 years old, but it's a change in generations. But like, people are coming to me to do their fitness test to get into corrections or peace officers or transit or whatever. And they're like, walk through the door, and I'm like, yeah. So, like, I always ask, like, okay, so are you like physically active right now? Like, how many times a week are you working out? And they're like, well, I don't work out. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like, yeah, I don't work out. I'm like, you don't work out at all? Like, you don't go to the gym at all? Well, no, I walk a lot at work. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, well, this is a law enforcement fitness test, so I don't know what you were expecting. And then they fail miserably, usually, and they're shocked, and they're just like, well, like, I didn't think it would be that hard. And I'm just like, what do you mean you didn't think it would be? It's a fitness test, right? So that preparation side of things, right? Know what you're getting yourself into. Look ahead. And again, to go back to what you're saying at the beginning, right? When you're going to go through recruit training, know what you're getting yourself into. Like, you better be coming into this at a stage in your life where you're prepared to drink from a fire hose for 6 months and not be able to do really anything else in your life except
this is your thing. And it's for preparation. I am 100% on board with you, Nikki. I'm a firm believer in preparation, and especially now, like, there are tools for success absolutely everywhere. Everywhere you turn, right? Now with the AppCat at DPS, like, we don't hand everybody, we're not going to hand out answers. We don't hand out the book. On joineps.ca, we do have a link to a police prep book. And I think there's like a discount code on there. So if anybody wants to like buy the book or borrow it from someone, just use it. Like, use it to prepare for this exam, because it's easy to walk into the exam thinking that, whatever, it's just a police entrance exam. It's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal, because like, people are actively failing it, right? So do yourself a favor and prepare. It's just like your fitness. Just get yourself in a good headspace, a good physical space to be successful, right? And with with the physical stuff and the fitness stuff, in addition to the RWRs, we also have we have 8 prep practices. We have push-pull machine practice sessions, right? Come on, like, don't go in blind. Listeners, don't go in blind. Use all the tools that you can and seek out help, right? We can't literally hold your hand and do it for you. It's all out here for you. So use it to your advantage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand. I completely agree with that, because that's exactly right. If you fail and you didn't take advantage of these resources, then that's on you. Yeah. Okay. Well, I have taken a lot of your day, and I know that you are a very busy lady. So I'm going to wrap it up, but I love to wrap up with a couple rapid fire questions.
Yes.
So, And we'll come back to, I hope you've thought of something. I hope you have a story in your mind now. And if you don't, that's, you don't. She's like, I don't.
I'll
Just
come
skip the
back.
question.
You can bring me back. I'll come back.
Yeah. Okay. I like it.
I will come back.
I won't ask like, what's a piece of advice to give, because I think you've dropped a whole bunch of really great ones. Be prepared, utilize the resources, come out, right? Like just start getting yourself in that headspace of where you need to be. Yeah. So I think those are all awesome pieces of advice, but I will go back to
info sessions. Wait, can I say something? We have info sessions Thursday evenings. It's all online. It's a couple of hours. You'll get all the information that you need. Like definitely start there. And also I want everyone to know, like, we can also set up like one-on-one meetings. Like if you want to like just like chat like one-on-one, whatever it is, like, again, we are here to help everybody. So let us know. We don't know, yes. We can't help you, but like come out to RWRs, come out to the info sessions and just see what we have to offer. Okay, sorry. Go ahead with your questions. I'm ready.
No, I like it. I think it's good to know that too about the one-on-one sessions, because I feel like there's people that perhaps would have something in their personal disclosure that's stopping them from coming out. And so maybe being able to ask that question before they even get into the process, like, hey, so like I made a mistake when I was an idiot 18-year-old. Is it going to affect me? Right. And you can find out right now. Yes. You know what? Sorry, bud. But like, that's a hard no. Sorry. Or absolutely. You know what? Thanks for letting us know. As long as you're honest moving throughout the process in regards to the situation, it shouldn't impede you, right? Or it shouldn't. So yeah, I like that. I like the fact that you can
all the time. So yeah, use us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to your patrol days. Yeah. What was your favorite food or snack when you were on patrol?
Oh man, that's easy peasy. Okay, so it was mostly nights when I get like really snacky and like the worst type of snacky. Don't judge me. I do work out, so don't judge me. So it was Cheetos, the puffs, and the candy cups. Or my partner and I, we were nibbling on like the big nibs, like, like the super big ones, or like 20 times or those. Then I kind of weaned off the Cheetos and I went to corn nuts, and corn nuts is actually my thing now, which is so funny because my 3-year-old son also eats corn nuts with me. Pistachios. I know.
Those are good. That's not bad. That's not bad.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. That's not bad. And I love that you quantify it, like when you get snacky on night shift and not the good snacky. And I would be so good for night shift. I would pack this like beautifully nutritious lunch because I would have time, right? Because I'm like, oh, I'm working nights. Let's have a salad and Greek yogurt and fruit. It's gonna be delicious. Let me tell you, at 4 a.m., the last goddamn thing I want is this beautiful salad I made. I'm like
eating cucumbers right now. No, don't. That's so funny because like my partner, he's actually one of my best friends. He moved though, like loser. He went to Lethbridge. Anyways, something we implemented Sunday Fun Day. So that was supposed to be every Sunday we worked nights. Like it had to be nights. We would go to McDonald's and we get a sundae and fries. So that was it though. It had to be Sunday. It was Sunday Fun Day. You get it right? Like Sunday?
Yes. Right. Yes.
So unfortunately, that guy had zero willpower, like zero. He was terrible. So our Sunday Fun Day quickly translated into Sunday every day. Yes. So it was every day on night shift, Sunday and fries. And do you know how many McDonald's there are in the city that actually have functional ice cream machines?
Zero.
Absolutely zero. And I was totally fine with it. Like I had very strong willpower, so I was fine. He would lose it. Like that was the mission of the night, was to find a working, oh my god, ice cream machine. So there, yeah, it's so great. I love him so
much. That is fantastic. Sunday Fun Day, Sunday every day, actually.
We down today.
That's awesome. Yes. And it's good. You got to get those partners. You have to have that partnership where like, I'm going to be your willpower tonight, buddy. I'm going to be your willpower not getting the Sunday tonight.
Oh man, I tried.
Okay. Okay. And so again, back to your kind of patrol days, or I guess, I mean, even within your time at like the emergency comms branch or domestic abuse team, what was your kind of favorite piece of equipment that you got to use, or even technology that you get to use kind of in your role?
Favorite piece of equipment? Nikki, I'll be honest with you, I don't really have a favorite piece. Like I feel great when I have everything on. Like I love the uniform and I love everything, like my belt, everything. So I don't know if I would say favorite piece of equipment because I don't really have one. I really enjoy shooting like at the range. Like I enjoy that because I'm actually quite proficient and I'm fun. It's fun. Yeah, no, I don't really actually have a favorite.
It's okay. That's okay. I like that you say that shooting is your favorite because you were saying when you came in, you didn't have
Oh,
any firearms experience. You didn't have any,
no.
right? So,
I worked my butt off to get to where I am. I was literally the worst shooter in class. I was the reason, and another classmate were the reason why our class didn't get their firearms because we hadn't qualified because we weren't shooting. I was literally the worst, and I worked my butt off to be the best.
that is awesome because you could have either taken that and been like, I'm the worst, I suck, and done nothing to fix it, or the mentality is, I'm the worst. How am I going to get to be the best? I'm going to practice. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to
Right.
work my ass off. Good for you. That's awesome. And now you're really proficient at it. So that's
Yeah.
good. You guys have to requal every year, right?
You bet. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good too. I when I did my practicum with the RCMP and when I was in university, they were doing their qualifications and they just had like a simulator machine in the detachment. And so like, oh, do you want to try? And I was like, yeah, of course I want to try. This is so cool, right? But it was like a bunch of like desk jockey, our RCMP guys that were trying to teach me. And so then you get like 10 different old guys giving you like tips on how to shoot. And I was just like, okay, hold it like this, do this. I don't, yeah, yeah. But it was fun. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing you get to do. So, okay. And one final one, and this one, may be a little bit of a longer answer, but what is a challenge within policing right now? So it could be within policing as a whole. So, increased crime rate, decreased funding. Those are big answers, or something much smaller, like just a personal challenge that you find within policing, within maybe even within your role, within being a female within policing, just a challenge that you face.
So my husband is also on the job, so he's also a member, and he's working patrol right now. And we have two little boys, 5 and 3. So I know for now, like these are not things you really think about too much. Like we didn't. Like when you have kids, like how are we going to balance life, like work and life? I don't know how we're going to do that. I guess we'll just figure it out as we go, which is what we're doing. So what I'm finding, it's like as the boys get older and like they're more involved in stuff, it's really demanding because I am also trying to succeed here at work, right? And I know it's not I know it's not easy to do both at once, but I'm just finding it a bit challenging to, I guess, find a happy balance between the two. Like I would never ever let my family go on the back burner ever, right? But I'm also I know how hard I worked to get here. I know how hard I worked. I'm not willing to really let that go right now, and I'm really actively trying to better myself like professionally and also be a really good mom and a good wife and like everything. So it's just really hard because like my husband works shifts, right? Like he'll be working first watch, like he's on that right now, and we'll see him for probably like 25 minutes before he has to go to work again, right? And that's only because I have like a really awesome schedule right now. So when I start my new position, I don't know what that's going to be because that's going to look different at home. So it's just a lot of juggling, to be honest with you, Nikki. And I went really personal there, but that's my challenge right now. And I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not. I do have a lot of friends, and I know they're going through some similar stuff, and I'm sure you can relate as well. So it's just, yeah, sometimes it just gets to be a lot, but you really have to find a way to balance it and know your outlets and just roll with it, right?
Yeah. Perfect. No, honestly, like, and I love that I love your vulnerability and the fact that you went personal with that, because there are so many female first responders that feel that so deeply in their core, because you've worked your fucking ass off to get to where you are, and you can't just let that go. Like when you know how much stock you've put into getting to where you are, it's like, well, I can't back off now. Like I need to, I'm like, and personally, right, I have goals. I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do this. But then, yeah, when you leave work, it's like these little humans are waiting for you and you are their world, and you come home and it's like, how do I switch from like work Nikki to mom Nikki to, and then like, oh, but I'm also on shift. And so like, I love you, buddy, and I really want to see your thing, but like I'm on nights and I need to sleep at some point in my life. I need some version of sleep, like, so and I think the added thing that we don't, as women, we never talk about, but like the life and the home shit falls to us too, more often than not. It used to drive me nuts when I would go to work working with all men usually, and this is not a shit on the men that I worked with, because I worked with some great men, but they would be like, oh, I had to make supper last night, like, oh, like it's just, I'm so tired when I get home from work, and like I didn't want to make supper, and I'm just like, and I used to be like like, and I'd look over and be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I make supper every night. Or like I had to do the laundry yesterday, and I'm just like,
oh no,
are you fucking kidding me? Like I do the laundry for our whole family, and I make the suppers, and I make the lunches, and I do the field trip forms, and I do the registration for the kids' activities, and I do all that, and I do the same fucking job that you do all day long. You think you're tired, bud? You think you're tired? Like I'm operating on zero right now. Right? So yeah, I 100% get you on that. And
so relatable. Oh man.
Yeah. And we're actually going to be I'm looking at doing an episode on being a mom and being a first responder, because
that's great. This could totally be a completely different episode.
Completely. Like I said, you're going to be on it. So just FYI, you'll be coming back. You can think about your stories then.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, it has been an absolute treat to have you on today. You've made me laugh. Your energy, like I said, is fantastic. I love it. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge, your wisdom, everything that you've kind of informed us about, and just even like, just the other areas that you've worked in, just really great to hear and to learn about. So appreciate you for that. Any last words for our listeners? Anything you want to sign off with?
If you're thinking about a career in policing, even if you're thinking about it, my goodness, just try it. Just do it. Just come even to an information session, or even to a workout. Come and check it out. Check out the type of people that are there and around you, all like-minded, all striving towards the same goal. Just give it a whirl and just don't give up. If you are in the process or have been deferred or whatever the case, just keep going. Like, don't give up, right? Because it's totally worth the battle. It totally is.
Yes. Beautiful. Mic drop moment. I love it. That's fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much again for sharing your time and energy with me. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Thank you, Nikki.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in, listening, giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I completely appreciate it. Make sure you check out our next episode with another badass female first responder anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook at bluelinefitnesstesting.com. I hope you stay safe, keep your head on a swivel, and watch your six.